Hello, everyone. This is Scott King with Becker's Healthcare. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Agentic AI in Healthcare, the 15% Shift, how AI is redefining decision-making and automation. Before we begin, I'll walk us through a few quick housekeeping instructions. We'll begin today's webinar with a presentation, and we'll have time at the end of the hour for a question and answer session. You can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar by typing them into the Q&A box you see on your screen. Today's session is being recorded and will be available after the event. You can use the same link you used to log into today's webinar to access the recording. If at any time you have issues with audio or visuals, just try refreshing your browser. You can also submit any technical questions into the Q&A box. We're here to help. With that, I am pleased to introduce today's speaker, Jacob Rouse, Vice President of Intelligent Automation, Amitech Solutions. Thank you all for being here today. I'll now turn the floor over to Jacob to get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I'm really excited to talk about Agentic AI in healthcare. We'll talk more about the 15% shift, what that means, a little more about my background. I've been in healthcare the majority of my career, both on the healthcare system side, variety of executive, finance, operational roles. I've been here at Amitech for a little under 4 years. I'm HFMA Wisconsin president-elect. One of the things I enjoy the most is helping organizations understand how they can take this technology and really start to make a difference. So our agenda for today, what's Agentic AI and why now? Throughout this presentation, the goal is to give you real-world insights and help you understand what the technology is, what it can do, and what your next steps can look like. This presentation is not going to be overly technical. We will talk about many technical elements, but this is not going to be me here talking about all of the underlying infrastructure of all of the technology. Really more trying to make it understandable. What are its capabilities? Why do those capabilities exist? After we talk about what is Agentic, we'll move on to some real-life case studies. We'll talk through what are some of the barriers to adoption and how we can overcome them. And like Scott mentioned, we'll leave plenty of time at the end for Q&A. So without further ado, what's Agentic? Why now? So Agentic AI. It's a new kind of automation. It doesn't follow rules. It thinks, learns, acts, solves problems, it makes decisions. Now, what is it? What makes it different? The key element of Agentic AI is being able to act independently with little human input. Again, I won't go into all of the underlying technology that makes this possible, but really, if you want to think about this, it's structured in a goal-oriented manner. So all of the technology behind the scenes is set there then to be able to adapt and guide the agent towards meeting an objective. Really, what that results in or how it happens, this technology becomes incredibly adaptive. It's learning from its experience, it's responding to change. As humans are interacting with it, it's continuing to learn and it's continuing to figure out how can I achieve my ultimate goal. This makes the technology proactive, something that we have not fully seen in AI before, the ability to anticipate needs and initiate action. All of these capabilities really lead us to the ability to execute on complex tasks like we've never been able to before. I might say this a few times in the webinar, but really when we're talking about Agentic AI, what you need to understand is this is as transformative as the internet was and is. Obviously, when the internet first came out, it was not used like it is today, but the internet has completely transformed the world. The capabilities of Agentic AI, it's that big. And so we're at the early stages of Agentic AI. Hopefully after today, you'll learn a little bit more about it and how we can keep moving forward and actually using this technology to transform. Now, if I can talk through intelligent automation in a relatable context, if we imagine this from the viewpoint of different dogs that we interact with. Now, the term intelligent automation, it's really the compilation of all kinds of different computer science technologies. So automation, RPA, robotic process automation, AI has many, many components. When we say intelligent automation, we're talking about how do you link those all together and how do you use them. IA, intelligent automation, different than AI, artificial intelligence. Again, goal today is not to go too technical, but just so you understand, when we're talking intelligent automation, we're really talking about the intersection of all of these capabilities. Now, at the beginning, if we think of RPA or robotic process automation, it's like a puppy fresh out of obedience school. It's awesome. It's simple, repetitive tasks. If you tell it to sit, the puppy will sit. Stay, hopefully it'll stay. If you've never trained it roll over, it's probably going to get stuck and it's going to have no idea what you're talking about. From a technology standpoint, RPA, just an example, moving data from one place to another, right? Maybe it's one spreadsheet into a portal. Maybe it's a portal into another portal, one system to another. And if we think about the example of moving from one Excel spreadsheet to another, right? Very simple example. This works great until a column is deleted and then the solution is confused on what happened, right? Broken solution, it needs to be reconfigured. Now, please understand, I'm really oversimplifying RPA. The advancements in RPA platforms, they continue becoming more robust to make solutions more and more adaptable, but RPA is, for the most part, extremely rule-driven. Here's step one, here's step two, here's step three. Now, when we get into AI, AI is extremely data-driven. It's really driven by data. It's like a dog trained to fetch specific toys. It's great at using data to work smarter. So if you throw a red ball into a pile of toys, many dogs are able to go into that pile of toys and bring back that red ball. There might be instances, though, where it might bring back a sock instead of the ball. Now, if we think about AI, a very real example out there is intelligent document processing, the technology that will scan through a document and understand things about that document and then be able to extract information from that document. It's able to do that by using data behind the scenes that train the model, help it understand what am I looking for, how am I going, what decision am I going to make. It can have limitations, right? As you're training the model, maybe an example, if you're trying to extract a total from an invoice, it extracts the subtotal, right? Now you have to go back and you have to retrain it. That's really AI. And again, I can't underiterate this. I'm really trying to simplify this down. AI is incredibly robust, but that's really what it is. AI is data-driven. It's using data behind the scenes. It's helping provide insights. It's really very reactive, uses historical data, helps provide insight and make decisions. Now, when we talk about agentic AI, right, this is really what we're here to talk about. This is like a guide dog navigating obstacles. It's great at resolving problems and reaching goals. And we talked about the underlying architecture and infrastructure of this is it's goal-oriented. I want you to achieve this. Now, it has access to the data, it has access to historical, but it's programmed to really be able to overcome obstacles. Just like a guide dog would reroute if a side street is closed, or if a street is very busy, it's going to take its owner on a safe route home. If you're at a crosswalk and the light says go, and a car runs the red light, the guide dog is going to be able to stop even though the input is telling it to go. this is really what we're talking about from a capability standpoint of agentic AI. It's something that we've really not experienced before. Now, if we look at the evolution of intelligent automation, we want to look at this from a feature standpoint. The features I want to call out specifically would be autonomy, how independently it can act, complexity, how complex of a process can it handle, learning, is it adapting over time, decision making, how does it make decisions, what are the limitations of how it makes decisions, human interaction, can humans interact with it side by side, can they not, and then implementation, right? How easy is it to get this going? Now, again, same components that we were talking about, right? RPA, robotic process automation, being very rule-based, AI being very data-driven, very, in a lot of ways, reactive, and agentic AI being goal-driven and proactive. As you look left to right, you're going to notice an increase. I think one of the biggest ones to call out here would be autonomy. If you think of RPA, it's going to follow set rules. You're going to have your set business logic, your set steps. It's going to execute based on a set of rules. And if something is outside of those rules, that's where the RPA fails or stops or pushes it back to manual intervention. AI can learn. AI can learn with data, with oversight. And then agentic AI, it begins to act much more independently and adapt. Now, I will say, when we're talking this about autonomy, this is not a flip the switch and agents just start running around making all decisions. The human interaction piece becomes incredibly important here. Now, with RPA, right, humans can't interact with it. It's pretty minimal, or it's at a very clear point to say, execute step 1, step 2, we'll turn it over to a human for step 3. Human will do this, it'll turn it back over to a bot, step 4, 5, 6. The interaction is not really, it's not a back and forth interaction, where when we look at agentic AI, you're really talking about a process and a solution and a capability that can communicate with the human, and it can resolve issues as it's working. Now, from a decision-making standpoint, obviously, this opens up the capability to make decisions based on goals. You're not making it based on steps, you're making it based on goals. The underlying architecture of the solution is goal-driven, and it's using the data, it's using the machine learning behind the scenes. Again, we're not talking all of the technical pieces of this today, but it's using those capabilities behind the scenes to be able to achieve goals and not just tasks. So from an RPA standpoint, right, simple automations, limited adaptability, and again, I'm very much simplifying the capabilities of RPA, but it is very much executing tasks. AI, and there are many components of AI. It's learning how to handle more complex tasks. It's using data behind the scenes to do this. Human touches are helping it learn. When we go all the way over to agentic AI, you're talking a system that can be highly autonomous and adaptive, and you can really insert complex decision points and help automate and bring insight into places that you've never been able to before. So, why agentic AI now? Healthcare, it really doesn't just have a labor shortage problem, a margin problem, although those are both extremely real. The labor shortage and what's happening from a nursing shortage standpoint, and the fact that healthcare has about 10% of all available jobs in healthcare are open, way above average of every other industry in the United States. There is a labor shortage problem. There is a margin problem. If you look at surveys from the advisory board, more than half of executives believe that administrative burdens are the biggest threat to margin, as well as labor shortage. When we talk about the opportunity, the dollars of opportunity in healthcare, this has been going on a long time. One of the original studies to err is human, in the 1990s, we continue iterating over and over that there is waste in healthcare. And a large part of this is because we have a decision-making problem. There's more data in healthcare than any other industry by far. We have a decision-making problem. Now, if you look at everything that's going on in healthcare, and you look at what is available from an agentic standpoint, that's really helping us reach, now is the time to start moving forward with agentic automation. A lot of estimates are showing by 2028, 15% of all decisions in healthcare are going to be AI driven. If you look at where we are today, in many studies, differing opinions, it's extremely low in terms of how many decisions are being made in healthcare with the help of or directly by AI. So 15% doesn't necessarily feel like as high as it could go or what the capability is. But understand, this is almost 100x improvement from where we are right now. One person I want to call out very directly here, Fei Li, professor of computer science at Stanford University, has been a pioneer in AI, been ahead of the AI curve for many years, recognized by Time 100. I'll read this direct quote from Fei. AI agents will transform the way we interact with technology, making it more natural and intuitive. They will enable us to have more meaningful and productive interactions with computers. Now, if we think about this, nowhere in this quote or anything that I've talked about is AI is completely replacing humans. What we have now is technology like never before that allows AI to work alongside humans and take away a lot of the monotonous work, a lot of the research work, the complex sorting work, and help humans lead. So if you think about agents lead, RPA, robots do, and people lead. That can be leading the AI, that can be leading the process, that can be making the ultimate decisions, but we're using AI to help us think. We're using our automation to chip away at those repetitive tasks that the technology can do, and we're really reserving our brain power to help drive better decisions. All right, so now there's agentic AI, hopefully providing some level of understanding of the capability of the technology and what the future looks like. I want to share a few real-world case studies and what this looks like. So a use case that I want to talk through is a fax inbox processing in a medical records department. Now, many of my friends, when I tell them about how much paper actually runs through a healthcare system, they don't believe me. Understand that when I'm talking faxes, I'm assuming at this point all of that information has been digitized and we're just dealing with the digitized faxes. I'm not going to talk maybe the solution before where how do you digitize and get it into this place. I'm just talking about the amount of content that's coming through that needs to be processed. So in this process, in the medical records, there's obviously logging into numerous systems. Now, this happens a few times a day. Generally, this is not a huge time suck. And so we're going to say per transaction, obviously well under a minute. There's this process of splitting a document, right? Fax comes in, maybe there's 2, maybe there's 3, maybe there's 10 patients on it. Now, to separate that, it could be using functionality like print to PDF. Some platforms have an ability to separate, slightly more intuitive, but there's this taking the document and then splitting it. It's not every document, it's many of them. And if we just think, if we average this out, it takes about a minute per document coming through. The bulk of the work then becomes identifying and classifying what type of document is this? Who is the patient? What are the identifiers of the patient? How do you extract all of that information? The next step would be uploading that document into a chart, right? So from searching the patient to going to the right folder to uploading that document. There are going to be patients that don't exist in your system. We've seen this a variety of times. Around 10% of patients don't actually exist in the system, and then it goes to a different team where they're spending 5 minutes for each one of these to then create a new patient or not, to make determination to not create a patient. After that, then we go into just different actions. Notifying the care teams, sending out documentations, triggering referrals. This is a very real, very true fax inbox processing. Each document that comes through takes about 5.5 minutes, no automation. Now, if we look at, you start combining RPA and AI, right? And the AI that I'm going to talk about is really intelligent document processing, the capability to read a document and then make decisions. Any of the logging in work, easy, it can be logged in. Take that lift. And again, I'll admit it's not a huge lift or time saver from a human standpoint, but having that work done for you ahead of time, absolutely a satisfier. Splitting the document. So as that document comes through, being able to use some level of logic to say this one does need to be split, this one doesn't need to be split. You can decrease the number of documents that you're reviewing pretty substantially. And then you can have a process here that becomes much, much faster. Then there's the identifying and classifying. Now, this is really where this work, the intelligent document processing comes into play, this level of AI, able to take that document, read it, extract it, can automate 80% of the volume, right? So now it's the only human touches are exceptions. There's the uploading to the chart. 90% of that can be automated, and that really being a low number. We still have that 5 minutes of time per new patient, and then any of the actions fully automated. The going into the system, document, trigger this, do all this based on the document type, fully automated. So now we have a process. The average manual time is 1.5 minutes. We just automated 73% of this process. Now, how do we bring in Agentic? We move into the splitting of the documents. Here's where an agent can come in and it can start to look through all of this, and it can split the document and it can make a recommendation, and then the AI can go back and do that. We're still going to have touches. We're still going to need to create some level of new patients. Here comes a new agent that can help make a determination on does a new patient need to be created, does it not? It's providing a recommendation to a human who makes a decision, and then RPA can come in and actually do all of that work. So now we go through, and process that used to take 5.5 minutes only takes 30 seconds on average per document. Here's the process side by side by side. So you can see we go from 5.5 minutes all the way down to 0.5 minute on average per document. Now, why does this matter? Why is this a big deal? If you look at how many faxes are processed in healthcare, this process here had over 1 million faxes annually. So what this ultimately resulted in is 60 people that were solely dedicated to doing this kind of work, right? Solely dedicated to that 5.5 minute process that I was talking through. This is what they did over and over and over. Now you can bring in RPA and AI, and you can remove 73% of that. The human touches in the process become exception-based, as well as helping train the new technology. So now it's not just people touching documents and manually doing it over and over, but it's working alongside the AI and helping making it smarter. When we push into the agentic the agentic embedded workflow. You can see we just took out the majority of the effort that goes in here. Human touches are mainly removed. Exceptions have recommendations, right? So it's not exception pushed to a human saying, do this. It's a exception being pushed saying, I recommend this. And those touches are what trains the model and makes it better. All right, a payer example that I want to go through, the medical necessity review and record search. So again, fully manual. Each time this happens, it takes about 6 minutes. Logging into the system, there's generating reports from different inpatient queues, compiling that all into the format that we want. Then there is taking all those inputs and compiling a case study into a single PDF for review. Now a nurse gets it, they get to review, and they are going to make a determination. Right? This is a very common practice inside insurance organizations and their utilization management departments. Nursing the nursing team compiling all this information so that they can make a decision. Now, when you look RPA and AI, again, automating the logging in, automating the generating reports, automating the data compilation and creating the case summary, very, very real. All of those first 4 steps can be automated. Now it pushes it to a nurse where a nurse is reviewing that and then making a determination. So we just removed about half of the manual work that's going into this process. Now, here's where Agentic can come into play. The first 4 steps, again, almost all automated. Anything that's not automated is exception-based. Hopefully those manual touches on exceptions behind the scenes are making the machine learning model more intelligent. But from a nurse review standpoint, you have an agent here working with the nurse that is looking through that case summary and helping make recommendations. So now it's not pushing a document saying, here, review this document. It's compiling that document, and the agent is going to review that document and then make a recommendation. Now, the technical side of how you would do that, you would ground the agent to look off whatever sources that you want to, right? So whatever kind of medical guidelines that you would want that agent to look off of, you say, use these sources to help make a determination. So now you just went from 3 minutes per case to now there's a recommendation and nurse is making decision. You're now up to 90% of this process being automated. Right, everything all side by side. You just you went from 6 minutes down to under a minute. Again, this is extremely real. 24,000 manual hours spent reviewing just under 250,000 cases annually. You implement RPA, that's the compiling everything. You can right away save about half of the time in this process. Now you have an agent embedded in here and you're helping drive decisions. And you can continue training this agent to help you make determinations. So you can say, recommend in these instances, make a decision on these instances. It's a nursing assistant at the end of the process here now, completely transforming the process. All right, so there are a couple very real life examples. I'm trying not to bore anyone here with providing hundreds of examples. Understand, we absolutely have many examples across all of the major functions in both providers as well as insurance organizations. We have plenty of examples. I just want to give you a number so you can see what the technology looks like. Now, are there going to be barriers to adopting agentic AI? There absolutely will be. So what I want to spend the next few minutes here doing is acknowledging those and trying to help offer a path forward. So we've talked through many of the benefits of well-trained agentic AI. There's the increase in efficiency and accuracy. Efficiency can be driven from automated workflows, right? I don't have to make this, I don't have to make these touches anymore. The accuracy in any AI, but specifically agentic AI, is the training and making decisions based on historical information, right? It's not knowledge that just one person has. It's the knowledge of an entire team, the knowledge of textbooks. It's the knowledge of whatever we want to ground this with that is driving the decision. So accuracy goes up the more information that you're dealing with, right? The more data that feeds into any given model, the more accurate that model is going to be. There's the enhancement in experiences. So personalized real-time support, patient members, caregivers. An example I want to give here would just be ChatGPT. Now, those of you that use ChatGPT, or you use Microsoft Copilot, or maybe UiPath Autopilot, or Google Gemini, it doesn't really matter. Any of these generative AI tools where you're able to ask it questions and it can provide answers and you can interact with it, that's scratching the surface of what the capability becomes here. So when you're dealing with when you're thinking about an experience, now you're dealing with this technology is going to answer and become extremely interactive, and which really brings us to the human AI collaboration, which is combining all of this insight with human expertise to help us drive decisions. All right, what's standing in the way of implementing agentic AI? So 80% of healthcare executives agree AI is needed, but 50% don't know where to start. Recent study from McKinsey and Advisory Board both had very similar statistics in their independent research. Most healthcare executives know it's needed. Most don't know where to start. Why? There's the risk and the governance side of this. What if the agent acts on bad info? There's the skill gap here. So we have the technology, but our staff doesn't know how to use it. There can be the fragmented tech stack. We have too many disconnected tools. We have a lot of tools that are all disconnected. Now, we'll call out here the technology UiPath becomes an outstanding system integrator, being able to take systems, connecting behind the scenes, and really able to drive information from one system into another system. That kind of capability is needed to reduce the fragmented stack that you have out there. Maybe most important here would be the lack of a strategic plan. Now, at the beginning of 2025, Advisory Board found 75% of healthcare organizations have increasing their AI capabilities in this next year. Now, if you don't have a clear vision of what that means, where to start, how you're going to differentiate clinical versus non-clinical, any of the things that go into a strategic plan, it becomes very difficult to make progress. Now, I'll end this with saying, just like a guide dog, agentic AI requires training, trust, and oversight. Agentic AI is not a flip the switch and turn your back. This is a collaborating with people, collaborating with systems, constantly updating and becoming improved. All right, now how do we mitigate some risks? Again, I mentioned it. Just like a dog, agentic AI must be carefully developed and monitored to make sure it's aligned. I spoke to you about the capability and how this is all programmed to be very goal-oriented. To make sure that those goals are aligned, this requires human interaction. So oversight and autonomy, having a human in the loop approach. So it's not a flip the switch and turn your back. It's a turn it on and work with a human until you're comfortable to solely make decisions. You embed a human in the loop to make critical decisions. This might be different from an administrative function and a clinical function where you're looking for recommendations and not decisions. And as you get comfortable with recommendations, now you're turning over some kinds of decisions. It doesn't change. You need a human providing oversight that is going to continue improving that autonomy. Security and privacy, context grounding, monitoring, and auditing. Context grounding is really, these tools and the capabilities, and I'll go back to ChatGPT or any of those platforms. You can deal with all human knowledge and ask a question and get a generalized answer, or you can ground that question in a very specific set of data and get an expert answer. So from a security and a privacy standpoint, same principles apply. All right, if you're using SharePoint, you say, look over SharePoint and provide back an answer. You could do that, or you could say, look inside just this folder and provide back an answer. The monitoring, the auditing, making sure that decisions that are being made are in alignment with what the ultimate goal was, all extremely important. The transparency and trust. Again, I don't necessarily want to go into all of the underlying architecture of this technology and how it's HIPAA compliant and the data encryption, but understand platforms that are out there, UiPath, I'll call out specifically, it's designed to make sure that data is secure, and that as this technology is working, you're secure and this information is not leaving your organization into areas it shouldn't be leaving. All right, so I want to end here with a few actionable steps before we get into the Q&A. So start now with pilots. Now, when we think about pilots, it's actually the best exercise that you can go through is understand where is there a lot of manual work and where are their pain points. This technology can solve, what I've talked through here, very simple to very complex. There are pain points across every part of the organization. So starting now with pilots involves the exercise of where are we spending our time and what are some of the huge pain points in the processes that we can alleviate. Implementing governance is critical for having a successful agentic AI platform. I've now used the example a few times. This is not flip the switch and walk away. This is, we need to make sure we understand how we're, what governance model that we're using, how are we making decisions, are we allowing agents in the clinical workflows to make the same kinds of decisions as back-end workflows, understanding that having policies, having procedures, having decision-making, understanding what humans are involved in what place, absolutely critical for deploying agentic AI successfully. The next side of this is fostering an AI-ready culture. So the training, the understanding, how do you break down a workflow? How do you understand what technology is appropriate to solve this workflow versus that workflow? It all starts from education and starting. A how that I would maybe a why, and I mentioned this, the majority of healthcare understands AI is needed. Most don't know where to start. If you look at historical digital transformation projects, if you don't have this strategy and the framework, most of them will end up failing. So how we get this going is really leveraging expert partnerships. Those that have done this and those that specialize in this, this is really how we can take agentic AI and bring it to reality. So that's the content for today. Scott, I believe a number of questions came through.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Jacob, for a wonderful discussion today. We're going to begin today's Q&A. Audience, please feel free to submit your questions via the Q&A box on your screen. And let's go ahead and get started with the first question here. What do you think contributes most to the reluctance of healthcare actors to adopt AI? investment concerns, data privacy issues, and exposure, i.e. HIPAA?
I think that tremendous question, and I think the answer is yes. So, just joking around, it really becomes all of these. So when we look at I would say the biggest that we experience is a lack of understanding of capabilities. And part of this is when we talk about AI, and now we have agentic AI, and over the past couple of years, generative AI. These terms a little bit become buzzwords, and it's hard to know how tactically this technology can help in workflows. So I would say the biggest barrier that we see is an actual understanding of how can the technology out there actually help me in my processes. Many organizations, they have custom workflows, right? One healthcare organization's workflows may be slightly different from another. And so there's a reluctance to use this technology and bring it in and to automate a process because they can't find anyone that's done it exactly the same, using the exact same workflows and the exact same systems. So I think a big part of the answer, the biggest part of the reluctance really becomes an understanding of the capabilities, an understanding of the security, the measures that are taken to make sure that data doesn't leave your system. And like anything, there's a human investment here. Again, this isn't flip the switch. If you're bringing in AI to transform, humans have to be involved, and so there is a lift from those that are going to be using it, learning how to use it, and helping that project and helping that transformation effort be real.
Next question for Jacob. How do healthcare systems overcome PHI and other DLP concerns in implementing automations?
So the simple answer to this one is understanding that the platforms that are out there, and again, I'll use UiPath as an example. It's designed to handle PHI and keep the information inside your system, inside your cloud, inside your infrastructure, whatever you want to, wherever that data is stored. These systems are designed to be compliant, to keep information, to not let it out, to help your organization make decisions. So without going into all of the technical detail that does exist out there, and I'm happy to answer individual questions around that. This is part of the education, understanding that these platforms, they're designed for PHI information to be able to interact with the technology.
And next question. In medical necessity review, what is the instance of false approval?
Medical necessity review, instance of false approval. Now, I might say this is slightly more of I would call it a healthcare medical necessity, prior authorization, philosophical debate. So I'm not going to exactly provide. I'm not going to provide exact statistics around that. Not being an expert in the overarching industry trends, but I would say if we're talking specifically from an automation or AI capability, the answer becomes whatever thresholds that you set, you can control decisions being made. So with AI, right? It comes with very transparent confidence intervals. Well, it will look through and it'll say, based on all the rules that you're told me, I'm 99% certain that this is the case. Now, those confidence intervals that train the models and are very transparent as you're using them, if it's saying 99% chance that it is accurate. So hopefully that answers the question. It's a little bit loaded, but if we're talking just the technology standpoint, using confidence intervals are going to be the best indication of a potential error rate.
And the next question, fragmented tech stack is not small. Can you define the tipping point?
Yeah, that's it's another it's a loaded you know, philosophical, I'll call it philosophical IT and healthcare question. Um, I don't know if I have an answer to the exact tipping point. What I will say is an immediate step that many organizations are going through from an IT standpoint is understanding all of the different technologies that you have. What are they doing? What data is it bringing? How is that going into our data lake? How are we using this all to make decisions? From a, really the exercise of strategically going through and having a lot of this goes to a data governance process to say, this system is doing these actions and we're getting data out of it. What does that data do? How does it help us drive decisions? That's really the exercise that you have to go through. I don't have an exact answer on what is the tipping point. I do know that adding without reviewing and understanding and having a data governance process where you're understanding, well, what am I actually getting out of this system? That's really step one. And so the answer is going to vary organization to organization. Tipping point is really going to be dependent on what you're doing and what you're doing with the information generated out of these systems.
And the next one, will there be an automated breach alert if one occurs, i.e. hack system type?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So simple answer, yes. As this information is here and we talk about the monitoring that goes on behind the scenes, monitoring can alert whomever you want. So that capability in whether it be RPA or just some of the more basic AI capabilities out there, it exists to monitor and call out breaches. Now, one thing that I'll say is different when we're talking about agentic AI is the ability to develop an agent where that's what it's looking for. It's trying to proactively identify in your systems what potential failure points, and it's trying to get ahead of the breach to say you are at risk here, before that breach happens. So yes, from a reactive standpoint, all of these, everything that I'm talking about in the different platforms that you can use, it has that capability to be able to say breach occurred. Really getting ahead of this though is the monitoring and the potential from an agent where you can say, hey, I'm worried about this happening, and you can take proactive action before any negative breaches happen.
And how can you build buy-in with senior leadership of your company when they are hesitant about taking the risk leap into AI?
It's also a terrific question. I think we're at a point, and I want to go back to one thing that I mentioned before about the internet. So AI, and specifically now the capabilities of agentic AI, this is a game changer. And organizations that are beginning to use this and help drive decisions, they're moving at a faster pace, and they're able, organizations are able to make better decisions. They're starting to deal with workforce shortages. They're using the technology to actually solve all of the problems that we know exist in healthcare. Now, there are many examples out there. So I think the answer, when you look at what do we do to move past the hesitancy of this, a big part of it is understanding, right? This technology is extremely secure. If you're using it correctly, it's not just another tech stack to add on. You should be using this from a strategic standpoint to actually look at your tech stack and understand what's needed, what's not needed. How can we use a master integrator to start to reduce our tech stack and integrate different systems? So again, answer, How do you overcome this? A lot of it is just the understanding the technology is here, it's extremely secure, and there are plenty of organizations that are out there that are moving forward and getting a jump start on the rest of the industry.
Looks like we have time for a couple more. How are patient privacy concerns and HIPAA compliance addressed when implementing agentic AI solutions that work across multiple systems?
Yeah, and great question. And the answer to this is it's pretty technical. So I'm gonna try and provide a at least an answer that I can understand from a technical standpoint. It's really built-in trust layers that handle the PHI. So, if you look at the from a data governance standpoint and how data transfers from one location to the next, these tools are coming with the ability to add in trust layers and not let information go where you don't want it to go. Then when we talk about agents specifically, you can train agents to only access the information that they need, only permissioned data. So again, if you have a data lake with all of your organization's information, giving an agent access to absolutely everything and then asking it to make a decision, probably not the direction that you want to go. But if you're giving it very grounded information, now it's making better decisions, and that data is in one place, you're able to monitor it, you're able to understand how it's being used. That's really critical. Having a platform that is making sure all decisions are logged so you can audit it, making sure a platform that can encrypt data and follow HIPAA protocols. I would say those are really the big ones on how we can make sure patient privacy concerns and HIPAA compliance are addressed with this technology.
Okay, next question, how do you recommend healthcare organizations measure success beyond ROI when implementing agentic AI solutions?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. Now, one place, and this is a little bit, this is general. Starting and using it becomes super important. The only way to really grow it in your organization is to start. Now, measurable elements absolutely become understanding how much time is saved by automating this process or embedding AI into this process. How much time did that save? You can start to look at how many touch points, accuracy of decisions. You can look at how many manual touches exist in the process. Satisfaction. One thing that you'll notice out there is organizations that are using AI and embedding AI in workflows, employee satisfaction scores jump. And again, just an example of AI is not here to replace people. It's here to help enhance our jobs on a day-to-day basis. Organizations that embed AI into workflows of employees have higher employee satisfaction. So a variety of things, time savings, employee satisfactions, outcomes of the decisions, all examples of how you can measure it besides just an ROI.
Looks like we have time for one final question here. What specific skills should healthcare organizations prioritize developing in their workforce to successfully implement and work alongside agentic AI?
Yeah, it's a terrific question. And I hope I don't come off as overly repetitive here. Understanding the technology becomes a piece of it. Now, this doesn't mean everyone needs to become a developer or an architect of solutions, but just understanding the general capabilities is important. Understanding process engineering, and when I say that, understanding how to map out a process, how to understand decision points in your process, it becomes extremely important. When we talk about any of this technology, it's a digital workforce. It's not just a tool. anytime you're embedding this technology, you're adding a member of your workforce that's working side by side with humans. So that shift in thinking and understanding how it can help, and then understanding how do I break down what I'm doing in a manner that now the technology can help me, help me become more efficient. I think that's one of the biggest things that you can start to embed in terms of the skill of an employee on how you can implement agentic AI. And I would say along with that, the skill sets of employees start to evolve as well. Now, I mean, really, if you're doing what I'm saying, you're upskilling those employees to be decision support and governance experts as they're working with AI and training it and helping it make better decisions.
That's all the time we have for today. I want to thank Jacob for an excellent presentation, as well as Amitech Solutions for sponsoring today's webinar. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.